Trading is the easiest career in the world. I don't care what anyone says. I click buttons, I analyze lines on a chart, and if I'm right, I make a shit ton of money. I've had opportunities to like promote a lot of big firms that have offered me 200, 300K a month. I have emails where I've rejected. But I feel like if it's trading a 5K account today, by the summer I could probably grow it to 100 grand.
What is the best way to start actually seeing consistency?
For me, I think if I was 18 today and I was trading or wanted to trade,
This day trader has made $20 million trading and built one of the biggest trading companies in the world, valued near $100 million. From buying his parents their dream house to buying his siblings their dream cars, Umar Ashraf is one of the most verified traders in the industry. But 12 years ago, when he started trading, life didn't always look like this. With only $20,000 to his name, he invested all of it into the markets and lost everything. So how did an 18-year-old from New York City manage to become one of the best day traders in the world? Today, I speak with Umar and talk about what it truly takes to become a profitable trader the right way.
I like the two-tones go to with the Maybach. That's my favorite.
two-tone is the way to go.
Because you know what car it is when you're driving. Too.
I think
you're
two-tone
that's
is the way to go. One, I don't think my mom or dad knew how much I was making or what I was doing, and like, not that I never shared it, I just never really talked about it, right? So my mom and dad were just like, I never graduated college, right? So it was always like, oh shit, when this doesn't work, what's he gonna do? When this stops working, what's he gonna do? Also, my dad's had a lot of friends that lost money in Wall Street, so it was like, when's this ticking time bomb gonna end? Because he knows like two people in like a span of 5-10 years, they lost everything. So for him, it was like, okay, when's this gonna end? When's this gonna end? And then obviously his friends would, you know, say the same exact thing, and then my mom would hear that, and then my mom would also be like a little bit scared, like, oh shit, like, good job, you did good today, you did good this month, and then it's like, when's this like violin gonna stop playing? So that's why I keep going to like, what do your parents say? Because I know like from Desi parents, a lot of times I think because you graduated, that kind of makes it a little bit better.
I think number one is, you're right, I actually genuinely didn't. So I was actually making 100K a month consistently when I was in university. They didn't care at all.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point. They honestly cared about me graduating university before they cared about anything else. The day I graduated university, that's the happiest they were, because they were like, now you can do whatever you want. They're like, you want to go on the street, do whatever you want. You got the degree. As a brown parent, I'm very happy about that. So I think that was the biggest thing. That's why they're happy, and that's why they don't really care now in terms of what I do, because I have the degree. If I didn't have the degree, they would be tweaking. They would actually be very
I think that's what it was. I didn't have a degree. I left out of college, and I was like, I'll go back.
Yeah.
And I never went back.
Yeah.
Right.
That thing too, when you said the people telling your dad. So when I first started trading, when we talked about it, like, that is kind of the main thing. It was like, one of my dad's friends made like, I don't know, $1 million off whatever, some random stock, and then lost it all type of thing. There's always people like that, and you're gonna hear horror stories, and those horror stories is what influences other people to even get into trading or not get into trading. You've traded, you've built a very successful company. Looking back at both of them, because you started both of them not knowing, you didn't know anything about a tech company, you didn't know anything about trading. Which one was harder?
I think they were both hard in different ways. I don't know, it's hard to compare, because also when I started TradeZella, I was older, more mature, and like more calm. Like, if I started TradeZella and trading at the same age, I think TradeZella would have been harder. And I used to say this, by the way, and like as I got older, I was like, this is such a stupid saying, when it's like, trading is the hardest career in the world. Oh my God, I used to say that, and as I got older, bro, that shit irks me. Trading is the easiest career in the world. I don't care what anyone says. It's not hard. Being a surgeon is harder. Being an astronaut is hard. Like, I remember someone tweeted, being an astronaut is easier than being a trader. I'm like, bro, what crack were you on? Being a trader, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's like, trading is like, bro, you gotta tell yourself, I'm not gonna do X, Y, and Z and not do X, Y, and Z. Like, don't overtrade. Follow your game plan. Like, if you don't have self-discipline, bro, say you don't have self-discipline, right? So it's like, people that lack self-discipline make trading into like this thing of like, oh my God, it's so hard. Not that trading is easy. And like, once again, until 25, 26, I used to think trading is the hardest thing. But then when you go to like real, actual professions, you're like, bro, I get to sit in an AC room. I click buttons. I analyze lines on a chart. And if I'm right, I make a shit ton of money. What's my blocker? My brain.
I feel like most people, the reason they say that is, I agree with that. And there's obviously a lot more professions that are way harder than trading. But the reason I feel like people think trading is hard is because obviously the mental thing. Now, there's other professions. For example, you're building a company, right?
Yeah.
You don't have income coming in that's guaranteed
Yeah.
for a company, right?
Yeah.
With trading, you don't have income coming in. With a job, you have guaranteed income coming in.
Okay.
So most people haven't experienced building a business. Most
Yeah.
people, it's just job and then trading,
Sure.
right? Or if you're high school to trading. And I feel like that's why it's the hardest thing, because you're going from guaranteed income to not guaranteed income. They could both fail at any time,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I was kind of asking you that question in terms of like, they're both not guaranteed. And because you did both, now you can go back and say trading's not hard. But if you had a job, it's guaranteed income. Trading's not, right?
Yeah.
Neither is business. You did both the hard part, right?
Yeah.
So looking at it from that perspective, what would you say about that?
I would still say it from both perspectives. I still think, like for me at least, I think trading would have been more harder. And the reason I think trading in both maybe were a little bit more harder is because when I traded, I didn't have the income. Like when I did the business, like I was, even if the business failed, I was still good. Like there was still like this cushion for me to fall on, right?
Yep.
Trading, I didn't have a cushion to fall on. So I feel like, bro, wow, I have not cracked my phone for 10 months.
Oh.
And like legit today, I was like, yo, I'm like so proud of myself. I haven't cracked this for like 10 months. I feel like in 2015, 2016, like people respected trading, probably see it. It's like trading's become this thing when you tell someone you're a trader, they don't look at you like, oh shit, cool.
That's the thing. I don't even tell people that I'm a trader now because you can't. Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second you say trader, it's like, what do you sell? That's the first question.
Yeah, you know what I think's ruined it? I think the Miami traders have ruined it. I think the Miami traders have ruined it.
You're saying that in Miami. You gotta be careful.
I know. I'll say it, and I think they'll know it. I think a lot of Miami traders have ruined it, and I think part of it is prop firms. I think prop firms have kind of ruined it. You probably don't feel it as much because you're like in the stock and option side, and it's like that side is a lot more sophisticated. But the moment you like go to the forex side, and I'm not in the forex side, but because of TradeZella, I'm like I see both sides.
Right.
The forex side is like it's a mess.
What do you feel? What's your opinions on prop firms? We kind of got a little glance of what you think, but what's your actual opinion about it?
I feel like unless a prop firm is like really booking someone, their whole business model is a Ponzi. Like the only way they're making money is if you fail. Let's say majority of prop firms tomorrow, if all of their traders make money tomorrow, none of them fail the test, they're going out of business. I also don't think it's the best route for most traders because you develop this like gambling mentality. Oh, you lose money, all right, pay $50 reset, pay $50 reset, pay $50 reset. You'll take trades that you wouldn't normally take if it was your own capital, and then that just develops into really, really bad behavior. And then like, a year later, you spent probably 10, 20 grand in payouts. And you'd be surprised, there's people that spend like 3-4 grand a month in just payouts, right? And it's like, it's a mess. Do you see a lot of like prop?
No.
stuff
So
like
there's
that?
a trader right now that you've probably seen. He just did a $2.4 million payout or whatever. And then the prop firm that he got that from just did a 90% sale to get more people in.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes to what you said in terms of it's like a Ponzi scheme kind of, right? So what's your opinion on that? Like the business model behind it when you actually have to pay out traders? Because there's some prop firms that you'll make money, but they won't ever pay you out. So they actually did pay out 2.4 million or whatever. So they did do that.
Yeah.
But then they ran a 90% sale to attract new traders in.
They got a lot of people, yeah. He's a good trader, Jay, by the way, really good trader. He's like, he knows how to play the prop game really well. He also trades really well, but he's like one out of like 50,000 people, right? I think majority of people that try to do what he's doing are not able to do it. He's also been trading for 11, 12 years. So a lot of people that they're attracting on the flip side are just starting to trade. They'll, go for that 90% sale and they'll just keep re-upping their accounts. And their business model is, hey, let's get people in at a cheap discount for the first time. And their business model is shown that once someone's in the door, they'll keep paying a higher and higher price over and over again. So their LTV or long-term value in the customer ends up being so much, even with a small kind of increment of, the first sale. I've had opportunities to like promote a lot of big firms that have offered me like 200, 300K a month. And like, I have emails where I've rejected it. Because it's like, the biggest thing is like, even like, for example, you're 23, right? It's like, the biggest thing you'll always have is your brand, your name. You start getting offers from like prop firms or brokers, shady brokers. And like, they're like, hey, we'll give you 100 grand a month. You're like, fuck, 100 grand a month. Like, and you don't know any better and you take it. And these companies end up screwing over your audience. months.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you have left? You just destroyed your whole name. So it's like that starts happening, and that's something I've seen happen a lot more now than it did in like 2016, 2014, 2013. And it happens a lot more on like the Forex side of stuff, and like now a little bit futures. But like when you trade options and equities, you don't really feel it.
That's the thing. So I think ever since kind of being more on social media, I've been trading for a while, but being on social media side of it a little bit more, I think that's definitely something that I saw where when you said like broker deals and stuff, the emails you get from them is insane. But I think at the same time, that does occur way more in Forex, options, futures, like it's more regulated, so it's harder, you know? I think because you started off with options, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't start off with options. I started off with penny stocks, yeah.
Same, okay.
I started off with penny stocks. I feel like everyone that goes into stocks, they're doing penny stocks. Yeah. You go into penny stocks and you end up like realizing this doesn't really work well, and then you go into like big caps, and then I ended up going into options. But what about you? You started off with penny stocks too?
Penny stocks, started off with penny stocks, then I went into options right away. I do futures sometimes because I know you trade futures a little bit too, but there's just something about options, man, where it's just like, I feel like there's limited risk for the reward because if you can trade properly and consistently.
When did you start trading options?
I started penny stocks in 2017. I started trading options around 2019, 2020.
Why did you shift to options?
Because penny stocks, there was no system that can be in place other than the screeners. So you have a screener that you want to trade whatever, and then it'll be the top gainer of the day. And then you basically just trade that one top gainer, but you're not trading the same thing. Yeah. But with options, you can trade, let's say, for example, you trade Tesla every day. I trade Tesla literally every day, or Apple, so it's like the same stocks and it's the same basket, you know their personality. Where with penny stocks, it's just whatever's running, you're just buying it. There's no personality. You can kind of build an edge based off of like the volume and like, you know, the actual like screeners, like that's the only way, but you're not building an edge based off the actual stock. What do you think though? What was your kind of difference in that?
I mean, I kept losing money, bro. I kept losing money when I was trading penny stocks. I was like, like what the hell? And then so my thing with penny stocks was I got screwed over really bad with the company. It was called Solar 3D. So
something random.
SLTD. It was called, the symbol was SLTD. This is like, I think 2016, maybe 17. And this is like me out of penny stocks and like doing big names and penny stocks at the same time. And I remember my portfolio at the time was around, I don't want to say portfolio, my account size was like 400 to 500K.
But this was what year?
I don't remember the year, but I know it was like 21. So it was like my third year in, so it was 2016, I'd say, 2017. Every time this would happen, like this is not the first time it happened, right? So I ended up buying this company. And I'm like, okay. And you know, with penny stocks, because it's so cheap, you can buy like 1 million shares at like, you know, for almost nothing. And you go, well, if this goes to $1, right, I will make $1 million. Like it was just this weird math you create. And this is probably like the 7th time I did it, right? And every time I would do it in the past, I would stop. I would stop. But this time, like now I have a little bit more money. I remember I ended up putting 200K, 211,000 exactly in this particular name. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to go to $4, it's going to go to $5. It's a solar company. And and then you go on StockTwits. I used to go on StockTwits, which was the worst thing.
The worst platform.
The worst. Like, it's like you buy something bad and you need that
Yeah, exactly. This is going to work. This is going to work.
You go on it and you're like, okay, these random people who have no idea how many shares they have, what like value they have, anything. I'm going to listen to that. And like when you think about it logically, you're like, why am I taking investment advice from like random people with profile pictures of like dogs?
Literally.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would go on it and I'm like, okay, should I buy more? And everyone's like, this is going to go to the moon. It's going to go 12. It's going to go 20. It's going to go 15. I'm like, fuck. Like, damn, if it goes to 10, I make this much. If it goes to 20, I make this much. Mm-hmm. Then like you start going, I don't need it to go to 20, I'll take 10. Mm-hmm. So when I kind of created that weird thing in my head, I went in 211,000 on this trade. I remember I bought an exact amount of shares that equated to like 211. And then I remember, I think it was around the summertime, I was holding this for a few weeks where I woke up and I had Seeking Alpha at the time. Mm-hmm. And it goes, Solar 3D has filed for bankruptcy. Oh. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, bro, I keep doing the same thing over and over again. And that was like the day I'm like, I'm not touching these companies. I'm not trading them. I'm not holding them. I'm not doing anything. And that was like the last time I touched it. Yeah. Like that burn I feel till today.
No, 100%. I have the same exact thing. So I did, OTCs, obviously over the counter. So there's penny stocks No, sorry. There's like large caps, right? And then there's like, mid-size. Then there's penny stocks, and then there's OTC, which is like, it's the worst, right? OTCs are basically companies that are like in their like parents' garage, and you can just say you have a company. It's nothing.
I've traded those a few times.
Exactly. Yeah. So I saw people making millions of, like, literally turning like $50 into millions of dollars. Kind of like what's happening with cryptocurrency right now with the meme coins. So I buy into penny stock. It's called VPER, Viper Networks. And it's kind of like the same thing like you did, right? I forget what it was. It was like something about power. I don't know what it was. Anyways, so I buy into it, and I buy enough where if this thing goes to 10 cents, because you got to remember, OTCs are like 0.0001 cent. Yeah. So if it goes to 10 cents, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I'm going to retire. I'm going to get a big house, whatever, right? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, probably like 17, 18, probably younger. And I'm sitting there, and I actually went up 5,000% on that trade. So I'm up 5,000%, which was like at the time, I think $6,000, which was huge for me. That was huge. And so I'm up like $6,000, and I'm like, well, I can't sell this. Like, I'm up 5,000%. This is going to go to 50,000%, and then I'm going to retire, and I'm never going to have to worry about money again. And that thing, within 2 hours, I was sitting there on my computer while this was happening. The thing is dropping like this, right? 90-degree drop. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, just a pullback. I've done my technical analysis on this OTC. That's just a pullback. And it keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. And it went from 5,000% to only up 100%. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, bro, there's no way and like at that time, whatever, like I was like a teenager. So it was like huge in my like personal like confidence too. Like, cause like you got to think about it. I was thinking about it in terms of like, I will retire off this. I will retire off this. We'll be good for life. And then I just lost my life savings in it. And I'm like, oh, now what do I do, right? Yeah. And so that's, I feel like one of the pivotal moments for me when I was like, okay, let me go into options. Let me go into something that actually truly works. What do you think for you, like when you did go into options, because you didn't become consistent right away. So what was the thing that kind of helped trading click for you?
Before that, I am curious. So you were 17 when you started trading?
No, when I started trading, I was 16.
What made you get into trading?
Back then, I'll be honest. So
this is what, you're 16, you're 23, 6 years ago is what, 2018?
No, 2017. So I was 16. Because I'm going to turn 24. So it's, Back then, the main thing was, the reason I wanted to start trading in the first place was I lived in government housing at the time. And so my main thing was like, what can I do to, make money like consistently? And like, obviously you go online and as a teenager, how to make money as a teenager. That's the first thing you're searching up. You search that up, and then you see drop shipping. I tried drop shipping. The first month I tried drop shipping, I made the store, I made everything. But then if at the end of your Shopify, whatever, there's like an account, it tells you to, put like $20 in to actually launch the website. I didn't have the $20. So now I put in like these weeks of work to launch this store, and then didn't have anything for it. And then I was just like, all right, let me give up on this. And then I got into like reselling clothes, made a little bit of money. And then I got into trading, because that's where everyone's like stock market. So I got into that, got into penny stocks. And then I think really with penny stocks, it was a YouTube video this was like back in the day. It was a YouTube video called like this teenager made $300,000 in high school trading penny stocks. And that clicked for me. That was like that. I don't know if that video was like viral back in the day.
I think I know.
Yeah. And so I watched that video, and I was like, yeah, I gotta do this.
How'd your parents feel about you getting into trading?
Terrible. They were like, do not. So the first time I traded binary options, that was my first ever trade. I never actually talked about this. My first ever trade wasn't even penny stocks. It was actually binary options, where you basically, it's like, so I'm trading binary options, and it's just gambling, by the way. That's just straight up gambling. And so that's what I'm doing. And I made I think maybe $300. And so I go up to my mom. I'm like, I found a way, trust me, I'm about to be rich. And she's like, okay, she's like, whatever. Okay. And then I tell my dad, and he's like, what did you do? I'm like, I was trading. And he's like, this is gambling. Yeah. You're going to lose all your money. He called one of his friends, and he's like, hey, is this halal or haram? And then he was like, oh, it's very haram. And then instantly, I was like, okay, I'm not going to touch that. And then cryptocurrency started popping in 2017 too. So then I bought some coins with crypto, made a little bit of money, but little bit of money is actually $500, a little bit of money. And from there, that's when I actually got into penny stocks like fully and like try to like actually learn. And then I went on a generational run. All I was doing was looking at the top gainers for the day. I was buying the top gainer in the morning and I was selling it at 4 p.m. when I came back from school. So in the morning at like around like 9ish, because you could buy it before the market opens, I was buying it around 9ish before the market opens. So then I could still get that little boost right as the market opens. And then I'd sell it at like 3:30 right after I come back from school. And I went on a generational run. I probably turned like, I want to say like, actually, I know I put $2,000 into the account, but like it was at 5,000 by the time I started trading penny stocks. And from 5,000, I turned this into like 30,000. And from 30,000, it all disappeared within, I think, probably 48 hours.
Oh, man. And did your parents know that you lost all that money?
They didn't even know I made the money. That's the thing. Because I didn't want to tell them now because I told them
So you
earlier.
made money, you didn't tell
I
them.
had to. So first of all, I've never talked about this. I was trading on a custodial account, which I signed up under
Which is what I was going to ask you next.
which I signed up under my dad's name.
Yeah.
He didn't know because I did all my dad's paperwork. Because as a brown immigrant, you know, you like that's just one of those things where you know your parents are like from a younger age. You know, I was calling the telephone companies like, hey, like I need this fixed or whatever. So I knew what his thing was, so
Yeah.
I just signed up under his thing, and so I was trading under his name, like it was all under my dad's name, and so I just didn't tell them. I just hid it because I was scared to tell them, obviously as well, and I wanted to show them results. But then once I lost the money, and I couldn't show them results, and I lost money that would genuinely change the situation that we were living in at the time, that was the lowest and this was in high school at this point. I think it was like grade 9, grade 10. That was like the lowest confidence-wise I've ever been in my life. Like there's nothing I feel like, that when you're actually in like that deep down, like,
yeah.
How do you feel? What about you? Like when were you in that like kind of stage where it was like, this is the worst moment of my life?
Look, I've had a lot of it.
Oh
yeah, that's right. I mean, I think early on when you're trading, I think the first 2 years I've had that. I think when I blew all my money as well, I kind of had that. The first summer that I was trading, my 20 grand account, it went to 35, ended up blowing it. Everyone that told me that trading is gambling was like, told you so, told you so. So that's probably when I felt it a little bit. But weirdly, I think my lowest point in trading is a little bit the opposite, is when I started making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I hit a stage when I was 22, 23, where I was doing really, really, really well. And it's like, you get to this point where you're so driven after money, and then you're like, all right, like, now what? So I hit that weird stage at 23 of like just feeling empty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd wake up, I'd make money trading, and I wouldn't just feel anything. And I was like, I think trading is fucking with me. Because the thing with trading is like, realistically, you can trade really well, but trading doesn't create any fulfillment. You have to create fulfillment with the money you make from trading and pour out.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I wasn't doing anything with the money. I was just making the money, I was keeping it in the bank, I was growing it. So I didn't feel any impact in anything I was doing. So 22, 23, I started feeling like super depressed and down. Like, shit, like I think I'm doing well, which I am, but I don't feel better. I feel worse. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
So that was one time I remember. And then obviously the other times, I think when I just freaking kept losing money. You have that run of like, you take a trade, you lose money, you take a trade, you lose money, you take a trade, you lose money, right? So when did your parents find out about you trading?
So, I mean, when I lost that money, I was obviously visibly depressed. So I think that's like when I like.
Were you working anywhere, or you were just like?
No, because at that time I was in high school. Well, I used to work at this pharmacy type thing because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a pharmacist.
Me too, bro. I worked at a pharmacy. Probably didn't have a picture. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I have a picture. Yeah, no, so I wanted to be a pharmacist.
Yeah.
So I was working at a pharmacy to just kind of sustain, just like it wasn't even for actually money. It was just to get the experience to be a pharmacist.
Yeah.
So I was working at a pharmacy at the time, but yeah, no, they could see that I was obviously visibly like depressed.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stopped trading, to be honest, for at least like 6 months, and that was just because I was like, bro, I can't do this anymore. Like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna become a pharmacist. I'm gonna make, decent money, help people, and I'll call it a day. And then I try to actually like, focus in on school and stuff like that. And I always had good marks. Like I had really, really good marks, but I was like, bro, like, I can't do this. Like, cause it's just, you just kind of look around and it's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I did finish university though. So, I mean, I did go to university, got my,
What did you go for?
I went for finance.
Okay.
I went for finance, so I do have a uni degree. But when I was in university, that's when I was like fully locked in on trading. So that was around 20. So I went to university in 2019, and then I was still like really like trying to learn and everything. one of the biggest motivation factors, honestly, back in the day, it wasn't even really back in the day. At this point, I was like doing somewhat okay. Like I was really on the cusp of consistency, not there yet completely. And then you dropped a video, which was the SV video, and that I think it was
hate
titled.
that video, by the
No,
way. I take it down.
I know
all the time,
you talked about it.
and people always like put it back on.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hate that video. I hate it.
I think the title was like Day Trader buys SV at 24.
Yeah.
And I saw that title and I was like, bro, he looks like me. I can do it too. Like I was like, you know what? I was actually like genuinely like I was happy, but I was mad at myself because I was like, he can do it. Why can I not do it? So I think I was watching that video, and then that was honestly something that really solidified it. Where I was like, bro, like, you know, Umar can do it. You know, I see other people doing it. I'm gonna do it too. And so I think that was like one of the things that like really did push me. It wasn't even the materialistic stuff about it. It was more so like the fact that you were able to do it at that age.
Yeah.
That was the cool part for me, at least. And the biggest thing was, I think with every other industry at that time, I didn't really see people that were of my ethnicity, I feel like.
Yeah.
Especially with, for example, growing up on, you know, because I had that stage where I grew up with social media, but I also didn't grow up with like Wi-Fi or like any of the computer stuff either. So it was one of those things where like, I think seeing someone that looked like me do it was like a huge motivating factor. But you didn't have that. So what was your thing? Like, what was your factor of like motivation? Because when you're young, you obviously do want the cool stuff.
I think two things. So one thing to add on, I do agree. I think a lot of people that are from like, you know, from like look like us, right? Or from Desi culture, they don't push to want different life or a good life, right? I think all of them go on this regular path. It's not a bad path. I don't want to make it seem like a bad, which I think is a great path, as long as you're the one choosing it and that's what you want. I think it becomes a bad path when you're like, all right, everyone's forcing me to do this thing and like that's why I'm doing it. For me, I think since I've been a kid, hold on, did you play sports?
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked the sport thing because I think one thing I've noticed as I got older, people that played sports or like, depending on who you follow, like who's your favorite player?
Probably Kobe. We talked about that.
Yeah. It's weird when you start noticing what sport people played and who their favorite player was. You'll start noticing that people that do play sports or did play sports, they have this natural level of being competitive. Like you start having this healthy ego of like you want to win, right? I think if you have that in sports, that translates into other parts of your life if you allow it to. So for me, it's like I used to play on my basketball team. I used to play in the AAU league games. I used to play from like middle school to like my basketball on the team. Like I used to put like I was obsessed with basketball. Like
I think we got to run a one-on-one. Who do
when's
you think's winning?
the last time you played?
Long time. Probably last summer. What about you?
I haven't played for 8 years.
Yeah. See.
I'll make a bet with you.
If I can get a camera over
I'll make a bet with you.
So he's washed at basketball. Is what he's trying
I'll
to
make a bet with you. I'll beat you. We'll get a place. I'll beat you. I'll make a bet with you. Any bet you want, I'll beat you.
You got to determine rules here.
I haven't played for 8 years. Right. Last time I picked up a basketball was probably at 23, 24, maybe.
Oh, my age.
Yeah, your age, right? I think I can beat you. I think I just need 30 minutes with the ball for a little bit. I'll beat you.
All right, we can make that bet.
You want to make a bet? What do you want to make? Make whatever bet. I'm down.
All right, we'll come back to it, but we'll make that bet. For the next video, we'll make that bet. We'll run that. Next video is Day Traders on basketball.
For me, I used to be like obsessed with basketball, right? So I used to like, I didn't even start working or caring about money from that element until like 17. I think that mentality of like Kobe Bryant, I used to like grow up like idolizing him, right? Like I used to watch his interviews and how he spoke and all these things. And you know, as a kid, you start developing those attributes. So as I got older, or as I turned 17, not even older, it was like, okay, what do I want to do? For me, it was always like, I want to make money. I want to have a good life. So I would see people, like anyone, I would say, okay, well, if this guy can figure it out, why can't I? So I look at Jay-Z a lot, right? And like he's one person. Look at 50 Cent. Like a lot of people that from the music industry or whatnot, I'm like, okay, well, Jay-Z was in the projects. He had everything against him. And this guy is like worth $400 or $500 million at the time. And now he's obviously a billionaire, but I was like, this guy went from nothing to something and he had a worse start than I do. He can do it. Then I started looking at other people that are extremely successful and I'm like, well, he can do it. He can do it. And you know, when you start going into other people that have achieved a level of success, you go, what makes them so different? And then when I started going down the path of what makes successful people really different, it's like, they're not really, like you'll notice like a lot of people, even like some billionaires aren't like geniuses. They just do a few things very well consistently over a long period of time. That was like the simple formula. So I was like, okay, well, think I can do whatever I put my mind to. And also when you're young, you're 17, 18, 16, you have this like ego and confidence, which is good, but also if you don't use it the right way, it can burn out. So for me, it was like, okay, what do I want to do? I didn't want to become a doctor. I didn't want to like be a pharmacist. Like, even though that was like my backup plan, just because I saw everyone else do it, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to go down that path. I want to do something different. So I remember I went to Forbes.com, I was in class, and I was like, who made the most money last year? And the top 10 people had hedge funds. I'm like, well, what is a hedge fund? Trading. I'm going to trade. And from there, it was just like, all right, let me just get into it. And every time I would do something, I always have this, I've had this mentality from a young age where it's like, okay, I do something good, then I'm like, okay, well, there's someone above me that's doing a lot better than me. I'm going to look at it from his perspective. This is not impressive. Go next. And the reason I did that is because, one, it keeps you grounded. You stay very humble. I think it's very easy at a young age to see yourself doing well and getting caught up in it. Like, oh, I have this car, or I have this watch, or I make this much money. And it's like, yeah, great job, but you need to like stay grounded to know like there's people better than you, people doing more than you, all of this stuff, so you can keep pushing forward. So for me, I think keeping that mindset was very important, and always like the SV, like, or Aventador, I think that's like every kid's dream, right? So for me, it was like, okay, well, how do I get that car? How do I get this car? And then I think another guy I used to see when I was younger was, I don't know if you know him, Lord Aleem.
Okay.
Right, so it's like at 2013, see the guy, he's like from you know, similar to us, same place we're from, and it's like, why does this guy have all of these cars and I don't? Not like, you know, like he can do it, I can do it. And you know, there's people like, oh, well, his father did this, and I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter who did it. He's still running and growing the company. Like, you still got to give the guy his respect. So for me, I was like, okay, he can do it. He's from the same place. I'm not. Let me push. So there's like small little things that you see that just keep pushing and pushing. And I think when you naturally develop that attribute of just looking to keep pushing, it becomes like a part of you.
That's funny you mentioned Lord Lee. He was also, when I used to watch his videos all the time back in the day too. So 2 questions from based off what you actually just said. Number 1 is you talked about hedge funds. Where's the hedge fund? I'm
nowhere near good to operate a hedge fund. I know that. I'm not even.
Okay, but you say that, but the company you have, TradeZilla, with very successful company as well. Yeah. So you know how to lead a team. Sure. You know how to trade as well. Hedge funds obviously trade a little bit differently. Obviously they trade differently. But what do you think? Why would you say that?
So one, the way I trade is very easy compared to how some hedge funds would trade. And the reason I say that is because I can go into a SPY position with 400K, 300K, 500K even, and I can get in and out. With a hedge fund, 400 or 500K positions are shit, right? You're going in with like 30, 40, $50 million positions, depending on what skill you're at. That's number 1. I think number 2, there's so much regulation, compliance that gets involved there. Number 3, I've seen the operations that people kind of operate at and do things. And it's like, maybe if I commit to it, I can maybe do it. I don't know, but I also don't want that life. I don't want to like work 90 hours a week. There's also like this framework I have of life, right? I think until 25, it was like, all right, work 80 hours, 70 hours. And I think you have to do that. After 25, it was like, all right, well, I don't want to do a 90-hour week. I don't want to optimize my life in a way where I'm working, because we hit this dilemma, and a lot of people hit it. Like, I'm 30 now, right? I would give up everything to go back to 20. Like, everything I have, I'd do it just to go back to 20, right? So when you look at things from that way, and I'm pretty sure even someone at 40 would do anything to go back to 30, 50, 40, same exact concept. When you look at things from that perspective, you start realizing that when you're at that age of 23, let's say, and you're like, when I'm 30, I will wish to be this age again. So what are the things at this age that I want to do that I won't be able to really do at 30, or I won't be able to enjoy as much as at 30, right? So it's like, you can work 90 hours a week right now. Like, I'm going to build my business. Great, do it for a year or 2. But then the flip side is, what is the point of you making all that money?
So based off what you just said there, so there's 2 things here. So number 1, so you're 30, let's say I'm 23, for example. Yeah. So when I'm 23 right now, this is my perspective. I'm in the perspective of work,
sure,
because I'm looking to be 30, but set in a way where it's like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to do anything. Now, with me saying that, right, I feel like I'm blessed enough in the opportunity where like, I'm coming close to a point where it's like, if I don't do anything, like I'm kind of chilling, like in like this next year-ish, like I'll be in that position where like you've been in that position where it's, if I don't do anything, I'll be good. You know, like in terms of like just like living life, you know, I can do whatever. So how do you overcome that? Like where you know you've done enough where if you don't do anything now, you're good. You know, there's a lot of people we know too that kind of get to that point and they're done, like they're chilling. So how did you kind of be like, you know what, I'm at this point now let me go try to build a huge company? Like, because that's kind of that point, right? So why did you kind of do that? What pushed you to do that rather than just be like, you know what, like I've made a good amount of money trading, I'll just kind of call it a day here.
Yeah, I think you have to, after a certain dollar value, right? There is this real thing of like the quality of your life does not change.
That's
right?
exactly.
Like you start getting diminishing returns. Like instead of having a Lambo that's like an SV, you get an SV. Like it just things are not, they don't really make a big impact, right? I think everyone has a different number, but when you get to a comfortable number that satisfies the majority of your life needs and so on, more money doesn't make things better, right? It can, but it's at a very small return, right? I think once you realize that, you start to like not care about money unless you're like really driven to make a lot of money, right? And if that's the case, that's fine. I think it comes down to you have to enjoy what you're doing. So for me, I think, 24 is when I hit my point where I'm like, all right, well, I do well for myself. I have a good amount of money. What do I do? And then from there, I was like, I want to keep pushing myself to go further and further. And for me, at 24, I was like, oh, I want to start a tech company. Like that was my thing. I knew nothing about it. I wanted to put myself in this new environment and just kind of push the needle. I did that. And then I think while we were in like the building phase, at the age of 25-ish to 26, I did take like a year off. Like people probably don't know, I disappeared for a year. Like I'm not really on Instagram much. I'm not really doing much work. I'm traveling, going to different parts. And like that year, I just needed to like reset and think about like, okay, well, what do I want to do next? What are things that make me happy? What are things that I enjoy to do? And for me, it was like establishing like this concept of life. And for me, it's like, hey, what is success? Success is as long as I can wake up every day and I can choose to build my own schedule the way I want, however I want. To me, I'm successful, right? It's not, hey, 100 million or a billion or whatever is gonna make me feel any better. It's being able to have this part of my life. Then what are other things underneath that will continue to fuel that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like when I'm 80, what are things that I'm gonna look back at? It's enjoying the parts of life that I wanna like build and spend time with my family and do all of these different things. And I think once you lay out that principle element, you start having a foundation of building your life that way. So even like with work, now it's like, I don't want to do a 60, 70 hour week. For me, it's like, well, if I can offload this and delegate it to someone and I can hire them and I can pay them a shit ton of money and I don't have to do it and I can buy my time back, I will do that any day, right? And then that goes into like, what do I want to spend my time on? Like, if I want to go to Miami unplanned the day of, can I cancel my whole day, wake up and go? And it's like, yeah, if I want to go to Monaco tomorrow, like those small little things is I think where success comes from.
I can attest to that, by the way. He was coming to Miami, I was coming to Miami, and I was texting him, I was like, hey man, where are you gonna land? He's like, well, I'll figure it out. And I'm like, no, like, I kind of needed time. And, he's really what the day of he can fly out, So,
yeah, but that's my thing. I feel like that's where, and like, even if you think about it from your end, like, you have the luxury to do that. You have the luxury to, and I think obviously there's a certain dollar value that allows you to do that. But I think when you get there, you've essentially won. And like it's very easy to get caught up in the social media noise, which I think a lot of kids that are like under 25 get caught up in, like this competitive thing of like, I want to make more, I want to do more. It's like, yeah, cool, but at what expense? Like you'll make more money. Like for example, I've worked the least in the last 8 months of my whole life. Like, I've worked the least like hours clocked in. I've made 5 times more in trading and business and everything in the last 8 months, more than like a couple of years combined. And it's like, that's a show. It's not, it gets to a point of like, not how many hours you put in. It just gets to a point of like, okay, well, there's buckets you have. One is like your life. You get to a comfortable point where you want to enjoy your life. You want to have a good time. That bucket stays full. Then the other buckets of work automatically get full because this bucket's full. But now if your bucket of life is not full, you can work 80 hours a week. It's like I don't think that's really successful.
I was reading this, I forget where I read this, but it was basically where the work you put in today won't show for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
That's true.
Right? So what you're saying, how you worked the last 8 months, you barely worked, but that's when you made the most money. Yeah. Would you also attest to the fact that that's because you've worked for the last 10 years? And
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not saying to not work and not put in the time and stuff, but I'm saying like when you get to this point, and I was actually having a conversation with someone about this yesterday with George. It's like you get to a point where you have enough money to buy time. When you can buy time, now it's like when you don't need to do a lot of activity, right? like there's things in your life right now that if you take a step back and you say, if I do nothing for a week and I can think about one or two levers to pull, that'll probably increase me making 50% more than I'm making now. And those moves at this current stage of your life will not require a lot of activity. When you're coming up, you need a lot of activity. You need to do a little bit of everything. But then you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, if I make this big move in trade, or if I do this in business, or if I do this in here, that one small thing that looks small will move the needle a lot more. And then for you to be able to execute on that, you need space and you need to have stillness. But when you have a lot of activity going on, you don't have time to think about that. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it's like work. But I think when you get to a certain level, which you're at that level, you have to know how to buy your time back and then understand how to use your time to make the big moves that are going to 10x you, right? And you could do that when you get to that financial point, which once again, you're at. And what I see a lot of people get stuck at is when they get to that financial level, they don't get out of that mindset that got them there. So it's like what got you here is the hustling and doing a bunch of different stuff, which is good. But now you're at that stage where you're making a great amount of money and it's like, okay, cool. How do I set back, think about stuff? How do I strategize a little bit more? How do I start thinking, in quarters and not days or weeks? Not that you're thinking that way, but quarters or maybe a year out. How do I start structuring things from that point? And then you're doing less moves, but you're making more money, right? And that same concept goes into trading. Like last year, I didn't take the most amount of trades, but the few trades that I did take made me the most amount of money. And a lot of it was me just having this element of time and being able to position myself properly to execute on that.
Talking about the trading part. So the Tesla trade last year, some of you guys know, I took a Tesla trade last year, was my biggest trade. I think it was like $120,000, $140,000 trade. And then, so I'm super happy for the day. It's called Comparison is Thief of Joy. And I go on Instagram and the first thing I see is Umar's story on Instagram. I click it, same Tesla trade. And I forget how much it was, but I think it was 10x mine. And I texted him, I was like, come on, bro. I was like, but it was one of those things. I feel like it's one of those things, like there is, how you said, the stages of things. And it's cool too, because the things you're saying, I can resonate with them when you were 23, type of thing. So it's cool to see like you've kind of already been on that path. Being on that path, one thing that I want to talk to you about is right now I'm scaling in my trading, meaning that I'm trying to get those, bigger days and bigger wins, which comes with bigger losses as well. And obviously you have I've seen multiple times you have a different kind of philosophy on scaling. So how do you think, what did you do to actually scale your trading from, let's say, $500,000 a day to now you're doing, sometimes $1 million days? Like what happened?
Yeah. So two things. One, on the Tesla trade, just the way how you felt, I felt that with someone else. I know this other guy, I think he made 47 million on that trade, right? And like when I saw it, I was like, oh, fuck, man. Like it's just a human nature thing, right? I think for everyone, we see something and we're like, fuck, I could do more, which I think as long as you take it in a good way, which is great. But also your Tesla trade, phenomenal. Like I didn't have a trade as big as that at 23, by the way. So it's like when I see some stuff at a younger age than me, because I didn't think I had my first 150K trade maybe till 24, 25, somewhere around there. And that was like, I forgot what symbol it was. It wasn't even Tesla. It wasn't even an option. It was a stock that I bought at like $4 and it squeezed to like 40, and I like weirdly was positioned on the right side, right? But in terms of scaling up in trading, it goes back to the same thing that I was saying a few seconds ago. It's the timing of stillness. And it's like, I'm not trying to sound philosophical and whatnot, but it's like, to find good opportunities in the market, you have to not have a lot. It's the same thing in business. You have to have less activity and more high quality movements, right? So in like trading, it's like, if I take 10 trades and like I make money, I lose money, I make money, I lose money, you start slashing away into your mental capital. Your mental energy gets drained. You get a little tired, you get fatigued, you start creating biases because you're long Tesla, then short Tesla, then long Tesla, and then you start catching the moves in between. But now when you take a step back sometimes, and you start thinking about it and you start processing it, and you go, well, I'm not looking to make money here, I'm just looking for a good trade. And if the good trade comes tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I'll take it. And two of my biggest trades came from that approach. Like my big trade prior to Tesla was a firm in 2021, I believe. And a firm was essentially, even though it was like the thesis was different, but the timing of it was very similar in terms of like, I'm not doing much, I'm like very open to watching the market. I'm not forcing a trade. I'm just looking for stuff. And if something comes up, and then when you see an opportunity, you're more clear-headed towards that. Especially like if it's swing trading, right? And that Tesla was kind of more of a swing trade than like an actual day trade. But from a day trading point of view, for me, it's like what's worked. is I know that out of a given 20 to 22 trading days a month, there's like 5 to 8 good trading days.
100%.
So in like my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into, let's say, May. I know there's 5 to 8 trading days. I'm not trading 20 days. I can only select 5 to 8 days. So I like create that mental barrier restriction. So when I go into days, I'm like, it's not the day I'm gonna use one of my 8 days or 6 days. It's not today. So when it's not that day, and you can tell what those days are. You kind of have a feel like,
It's just experience. Yeah.
Right. If there's earnings coming up, market is flat. Market's waiting for earnings season to pass. If Powell's going to speak next Wednesday, you're like, all right, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have typically a flat day. We'll have Wednesday as a flat day too until he's done speaking. If market is so worried about inflation, you kind of have an idea to see what the market cares about. If you know Trump is like screwing up everything with the tariffs. I know everyone in Canada hates America, right?
Terrible. We won't get into that one.
Right? Okay, well, these things are happening. Market just dumped for 4 or 5 days straight. We made a recovery and now we're flat. So we might continue staying flat for a few days. So you start knowing what those good and bad days are. And I think letting go of that idea of like, I have to trade every day. I have to create activity every day. And that activity also goes into like work. Like, can you wake up tomorrow and like not do anything and just be in your element and feel good, or do you feel like you have to do stuff, right? And in trading, it's the same thing. You feel like you have to press a button, buy, sell. And even if you walk away flat, you're like, okay, I did something. But if you have 5 days where you show up and you take no trades, you're like, oh my God, I'm not progressing. But a lot of times, like doing nothing is, to me, doing something.
There's a lot of new traders right now, and it's a different space coming in now compared to when I came in, and definitely compared to when you came in. So
mine is way too far off.
Making
me feel like I'm 40.
Yours is like, bro, like that's like Ice Age. But no, so obviously the time's changed. So compared to the traders now that you see coming in, obviously you get DMs. I get hundreds of DMs. You probably get hundreds of DMs. Like, what would you do to start now in 2025, right? And we talked about prop firms a little bit, how the mentality is much more gambling. What would you tell a trader that's coming in today, like literally starting today? Let's say they watched their first YouTube video on how to start trading. What would you say to them? What is the best way to start actually seeing consistency? What's that path look like now compared to when we came up? Because it's way different now.
Me, I think if I was 18 today and I was trading or wanted to trade,
it doesn't. So here's the thing. I don't even think it has to be 18. Because there's people that are 30, 40, 50, 60.
I think personally, delete your social media and go trade.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think in today's time there's two pros and cons, right? The pro is I think the education in like 2025 and like the accessibility to information is like so much more available than like in 2013, 2016, 2015. Not that there wasn't anything then, but you didn't have access. Trading wasn't a big thing, right? Trading, because of how big it is now or how much bigger it's gotten, there's a lot of valuable podcasts. There's people that have started in like 2010, 2015 and so on that are very successful. So there's like more history and people are more receptive to showing them. So like that's the pro now than back then. So the education side is easier. The con is like there's a lot more traders nowadays. So decipher through like, is this guy good? Is this guy legit? Is this guy not legit? It's very hard because you have a lot of notes. Even me, I go on YouTube sometimes, bro. Like I see people's videos and I'm a natural person who likes to consume things, right? Like, yeah, you produce, but I also like to consume. Like, I like to know, if I see like Jade's videos, I'm watching all his videos right now. He just got a $2 million payout. And I'm like, hey, like from someone who's a student of the game, I want to know how you trade, right? I'm not from a point of like, oh, I think it's bad or good. I just want to know how you trade. And maybe there's times I pick something up, like same thing with your videos. I'm like, hey, I want to know how you trade. Go watch it. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Okay, this doesn't make sense to me. Just because something makes sense, it doesn't make sense to make it right or wrong. It's just, oh, I can relate to this. I can't. Or maybe it changes my way of viewing stuff. So it's like me at this stage, I can decipher through content and videos. But it's like, if I was to go back to like a new trader and I watch 20 different videos, I can be led on a bad path. And then you go on Instagram and you see like the crazy account flips and the crazy stuff. You know, it sets bad expectations, right? And for me, it's like, that's where the bad part of trading has come to at this current stage.
So even when I started trading, I think some of the videos that helped were definitely like your video. There was like probably honestly like back even like till 2021, I want to say, it was honestly probably like 5 big YouTube traders that were like doing it. And you could see like the people back then were legit too, because like there was no need to like, why are you even making YouTube videos at that point, right? So it's one of those things. It's like those people were like, you could actually follow them and they were showing results. Now it's like, I go on YouTube sometimes and I'll scroll and I'll see my thumbnail, my title on 100 different videos. And I'm like, what are we doing here, right? So it's just one of those things where there's 100 people now that you can watch. So you just have to filter out. There's a lot more education, a lot more. And there's honestly better education too. However, like you said, there's better education, there's more education, but with that comes a lot of bad information and things that genuinely don't work, or people just pushing their own agendas in terms of prop firms, brokers, whatever it may be. With that being said, if you had, let's say, $5,000 to your name, right? That's you were stripped from basically everything. You have $5,000 right now. At the age you are too, like $5,000, that's it. What are you doing today with, may it be trading, business, whatever it may be? Try to come back to a level of where you are today. Let's say you have the skills. So you have the skills of trading. You've done what you've done.
I mean, I wouldn't really try to flip a 5K account, but if I had to, I think I could do a really good job on it. I would trade options, right? I would trade options. I would probably grow that account, get it to 50 to 80 grand in I don't know how long, right? If I only have $5,000 and it's a little bit, risk off, I would just trade options and just show that live. Like if I was to come up now and I had the same skills and I had no social media following, no anything, I'd just start an account, 5K, grow it live from 5 to whatever amount, and just show everyone the whole journey, and then probably use some of the capital from that and going to tech.
You said that you'll grow through options. The one thing a lot of people are going to take is, okay, he's going to grow through options, so let me just go buy random options because he said he's going to do it. So let's really specify that in terms of, what are you doing? Are you trading the same strategy every day? Are you going to be, consistently executing what you're doing now? Or are you going to change your system into something that's a little bit more small account friendly? That's a question I get a lot. Small account friendliness, because I trade live every single day for myself. And so every single trade I've taken in the last year and a half, every single trade recorded live in front of like genuinely, at this point now, like thousands of people on voice too. So it's one of those things like, you just can't do that, like most traders can't do that consistently type of thing. So doing that, one of the biggest things that I get is Scarface or Tony, like he takes, Tesla, for example, and the contracts are $20. And so I can't do that. So yes, he made 20 grand on this trade, but I can't do it because I only have a $1,000 account, a $500 account. So
but I think on a $5,000 account, I feel like you can trade most things. I don't know what you can trade on a $5,000 account. I mean, Amazon before they're split, maybe, right?
No, but the question there is like, it's not even about, let's say $5,000. Let's say Tesla. Usually the contracts, let's just say they're like $10, 15, 10 to But let's just say let's say make it $1,000, right? What are you doing now?
I mean, I trade SPY contracts, right? I would just scale up SPY contracts, which is what I primarily trade now.
So you only trade SPY now?
A lot of SPY and Tesla recently, I look at ES futures, and then I use that to indicate my SPY trades. The reason I trade options is options are they're more capital efficient in terms of return you can make on capital invested. But there is like this problem with options as well. I don't think they're the most efficient mechanism to trade for majority of people. I think for majority of people, they should start out trading futures, not options. The reason I say futures is because I think the risk factor and the volatility in options can really kill some people, like not kill them, but like kill their accounts. And then I also think that with IV and looking at how VIX starts moving and like adding a few variables, trading options as like someone that has no knowledge becomes a little bit more difficult. For me, if I was to start and I had no knowledge, I would probably start off with futures. I would not personally touch options. But this is going with like, hey, I still have my 10, 12 years of experience. I understand how to trade the underlying asset. Like I feel like if I don't even want to say this out loud, but I feel like if it's traded a 5K account today, by the summer I could probably grow to $100,000.
If you have the skill.
If you have the skill. I think I could. And it's also just to answer that in terms of people that go, well, the biggest hedge funds in the world can't make more than 30%. It's like this is my thing with like humans. Humans see a line and then they read it and then they run with it and they don't go deeper into that line. And that's why like the issue with headlines is so problematic now because people see one headline and they like believe it. The reason hedge funds make 30-40% is hedge funds once again deal with billions and billions and billions of dollars. Hedge funds cannot buy a stock and sell a stock in microseconds because their positions are too large. If I go into
position at 100K, 200K, even if I go in for $1 million, $2 million, it does nothing. Like my Tesla position, it was like $5.5, $6 million. Market doesn't care about that. Like I'm essentially like very, very, very small, right? So it's like I can go buy $20 million of Tesla tomorrow. I can place a market order. Market doesn't bleed. Nothing happens. I can press 20 million again. Same thing. Nothing happens. Now, if I'm a hedge fund and I have to allocate $5 billion, now it's different. Now the way I buy, I'm not going market order, right? It doesn't work the same way. So it's like, to people that are like, oh, well, how are you going to grow a 5K account to 100K? That's this much return. And it's like, yeah, it's different than hedge funds.
I agree with that 100%. So one of the main things that people always talk about is the percentage that SPY does 8% a year, average compounding.
Yeah.
So you're not beating that as a trader. That's like one of the biggest things that I see online is like a trader's not being 8% or 10% that SPY does over a long period of time, right? But then you have people like, for example, you who have turned, whatever you started with to 8 figures plus just trading, right? Obviously you did a little bit more than 8% a year. So to those people, kind of like how you just answered, right? Like there's obviously, they're dealing with billions of dollars and they have a bunch of regulations and stuff like that. If you as a trader, let's say you do have the money to trade and you have everything, but now you don't have the skill. So now you have the money, but let's say you get stripped of your trading skill, but you have the money you have right now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, are you in a better boat having, millions and millions of dollars, or are you in a better boat having the skill with no money?
Like I would probably swing trade and I would like start swinging positions and stuff, but like, am I going to actively trade now or get into it? Me, like, factoring my situation, my position, all of these things, no. But now if you take me as like me and like I'm not financially well and like that's a whole different conversation, right? Because also like the first 2 years of trading is brutal, right? You go through like the whole high ups and downs and like you feel like you figured it out, like I got this is it, and then boom, the market punches you in the face, and then you go through those cycles again and again, right?
So that's like the first. I'm gonna ask you this too. So like the first thing for me was when I want to say made my first $100,000 a month, I was the most ecstatic person. I thought I beat the Matrix. I beat anything that had to offer. So I went and had to go and buy a Lambo, do whatever, all the dumb stuff kids do. And I feel, but then that took a huge toll on my trading too, because now it's like, all right, well, now you have this like car in your garage. You barely drive the car. First of all, I live in Canada, so you barely drive the car, but you have it there and you're paying, so now your trading's taking a toll. Have you had that where, because you kind of saw success in trading, it is a skill when you learn it, you can make consistent money for the rest of your life. But what's your opinion of that, right? Like when you first started seeing that initial success, we're talking about like maybe first 50K month, or first 100K month. Did you do anything stupid or dumb where it's like, oh, let me go do this and, kind of even, honestly, even like show people like, yo, I did it, type of thing.
So I feel like back then, at least for me, it was like, also from my background, like showing how much you made, it was like a big thing. And it's like, you shouldn't share it. Mom was always like, you're going to get another, don't post it. And like, it's it's all always in the back of your head. So I wasn't really the biggest fan of it. It was also very looked down upon. It's also, you go through, there's just like interesting stage, right? I think when you're first on social media, the only people that are following you are like people So it's like you feel cringe posting something.
Definitely.
Right? So it's like for me, I think 18, 19, when I was trading, and like anytime I wanted to post something trading related, it's like I have 500 followers at the time, right? I'm like, great, like everyone that's watching me is like people I went to college with or high school with or family. It just, you feel weird. So it's like you do have to break out of that area of like when you start getting 5,000 people or 10,000 people, now it's like, okay, well, you can get away with posting or sharing some stuff. But early on, I feel like sharing is like, it is that hard wall you have to get over. And then I think when like spending, like for me, one thing was like, I never, I did not spend money like at all. Like I was not a spender ever. Like I was never the guy that wanted to want a table at a club or like started spending 40K a night. Even like when I bought the car, like I still justified it because I got it at such a cheap price. I think I paid $440 for it at the time, and like it was listed for $500. Like it was just, for me, it was like, okay, if I pay this, and like worst case worst, like I can't afford it, I still have equity in the car. Like I like it's not like I'm burning $500,000 almost, right? So it's like I've never had bad spending habits, and the reason I've never had them even now is like, it's like, one, I don't care for materialistic things at that stage, and second, it's like
I'm very, because when I used to work and I used to make $8 an hour, and like I wouldn't go and buy Starbucks some days because I'm like, damn, I gotta work a whole hour. That mindset stayed with me for some time.
It's very crazy how similar
Yeah.
our thought process is. I used to work at Amazon, and when it's for like an Amazon delivery driver, and like at the end of the shift, people would go to, we have like Starbucks back home. It's called Tim Hortons, same thing. And
yeah, people love Tim Hortons, by the way.
Tim
Yeah,
Hortons.
I see it in New York. There's a few ones in New York. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I see Canadians come down.
Yeah.
So you guys have a Tim Hortons?
Yeah, no, it's a
Oh,
huge
oh
thing.
shit, you guys
It's
really
a
love
big
this, huh?
thing. It's
Yeah.
a big thing. It's our Starbucks.
Yeah.
But so people go there and, like buy coffee, whatever. I wouldn't buy anything. I would like literally, I'm not even kidding. It was a cookie for $1.50. I'm like, if I save this $1.50 right now, like I'll be blessed,
Yeah.
And so I would genuinely save. And so that car, the only purchase that I had was a Lamborghini Huracan in 2021 or 2020. That was like my only like dumb purchase that I knew was dumb, but like I just did it anyways. Other than that, even to this day, like I was telling, even someone else, but like 90% of the income that I make is being saved. Like honestly, I probably it's 95, but like it's all being saved other than taxes, which is that's a whole different thing. Now another thing is, as a trader, let's say you do start seeing consistency. I know a trader, and we both know the same traders that make money and then boom, it's the craziest lifestyle you've ever seen type of thing. Right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Because trading is a skill that once you start making money, yeah, you can be consistent. But then comes a point too where it's like, yes, you can make consistent money, but that doesn't mean there's going to be down periods. You're going to have periods of, a year down, maybe even potentially like 2 years down. Right? And then because you don't have the money saved up, you have nothing to fall back on.
So the traders that make real money and are on their first 4 or 5 years of like making money aren't the biggest flashy spenders. Mm-hmm. The ones that spend a lot over and over again and they go into the whole lifestyle marketing consistently, it's done because they need to do it. Mm-hmm. And the concept there is make the money, spend the money, grow audience. Make the money, spend the money, grow audience. And that's what I was saying. Like, that's the majority of Miami traders, right? Like, and this is my thing, right? Like, and I know when I say things like this, there's people that live here, they get really mad and aggravated. And my thing is like, okay, well, if you guys didn't post any flashy stuff, forget flashes, keep posting flashy stuff, keep posting it, right? And I can make this bet with almost 99% of people. Shut down all your affiliate partnerships, maintain the same lifestyle for 18 months. Mm-hmm. 99% of people can't do it. So then it goes into like, why are these 99% of people doing the things they're doing? It's to recoup the audience. And that's where it becomes, that's where trading, especially like in Miami, is like, just kind of destroyed the industry. Mm-hmm. And like some of the prop deals and the affiliate deals. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with spending money. I'm not saying to not spend money, but it's like, I see some of the shit and I'm like, that's just not cool. Like it's not good, not because of that, but because I think the next generation gets influenced the wrong way. Like my issue there becomes, I think when you have a following, you have a social responsibility. Like I don't care what anyone says. If you have a following, you have a social responsibility. There is another 18-year-old kid watching you, or 17-year-old or 15-year-old kid watching you, who's not in the best financial situation of their life, and they're watching you as the person to get out. And it's like, what are you doing to help them? Are you guiding them the wrong way for your own benefit, or are you actually giving them the right advice? Mm-hmm. Like I see some traders go, there's a few traders online that'll say, risking 1% is for like pussies. And it's like, that's like, what? Why would you say that? There's someone watching you who's who's gonna go and risk the whole account and keep blowing it over and over again. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you have to be mindful of those things. You have to be mindful, I think, of the things you share. And like, yeah, having a good lifestyle, I think is great, but at the same time, it's like, you know how things are here, you know how things go. It's not the best.
We talked about it. We were, even before we started filming, we were talking about it. Like, you can be in Miami for, I want to say 1 week max, and then after that you need.
Bro, I can't be here for like 2 nights.
Yeah.
Like I swear, I got down here. I think what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday, and like my first night, oh fuck, I want to go home.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to go home now. Today, I'm like, thank God it's Friday. I get to leave. It's just I think Miami's cool, but it's like, it's the energy, it's the people. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it.
I think there's an intermediate of it too. It's like it depends on the people too.
Oh yeah.
There's people, obviously we got to say there's people in Miami that are super legit doing really, really well, right?
Yeah.
But then there's obviously that side where it's like, you know, I think one of the main things too with the whole like flashy lifestyle thing, I think it's like it's also, you want to think about it from a POV of like why you have to think about why. So when I do content, for example, I always try to lead with value in terms of like, if even if I, for example, like I just bought the Revolto recently, I wanted to not show that off, but I wanted to show that trading can get you to this point. This is something that trading can do, right? But it's not like my every single video is look at this car, look at this house, you know.
And that's the thing where you start seeing that on social media, like people have trading channels and it's not trading, it's lifestyle. And I'm like, you know, at that point, humbly or respectfully, if you're buying anything from anyone that's supposed to have a particular skill set and all they're showing you is lifestyle and not value,
you have to lead with value, right? Because it's even back. So for example, my channel, value mostly, right? And then the things that I want to show in terms of the cool things that I'm doing, because once again, I think it's motivational to show it. For example, when I was watching you, yours was strictly like, even back then, like I remember like watching every single trade review you used to do back in the day. And then you posted the car video, and it was honestly motivating. It wasn't even like, you know, me, like I wasn't even in the position to buy anything from you at the time, to be frankly honest with you, right? Like I'm watching your free content and it was motivational to watch you buy the car, right? So I think that's kind of the same thing for me. Like just watch the free stuff and then just, you know, be motivated, right? That's like literally the only thing. But when it's every single thing is motivation and there's nothing to back it up, like if you ask any of these people, what's funny too, and I was talking to someone else about this, is a lot of traders here, when you ask them about strategy, like what's your strategy, right? Like most people can answer in like 5 sentences max, right? Ask them. One day it'll be order flow, the next day it'll be supply and demand, then it'll be ICT, then it'll be whatever is like the new trend is what their strategy is. So what do you think about that strategy hopping? Not even for like those traders, but like in general for new traders as well. Like, what do you think? Like, because do you think everyone should try different strategies and then come to one, or do you think have one strategy, have one system, and just keep continuously going down that road?
I think before even strategy, you have to have one way that you look at the market, right? So for example, I feel like I'm looking at supply and demand and order flow, right? Like, okay, to the basis of order flow, what is order flow, right? What are you looking for in order flow? Oh, like, and you know, a lot of times when you have conversations with some people, you can just know like, oh, if you trade order flow, like, what's your basis of order flow? 95% of people don't even know that. They just know the tool names, right? And I think knowing like, okay, well, if I'm trading, let's say, a certain way, right? Because I think it starts from what is your approach to the market, and then I think in that approach you start building out strategies. So for example, if my approach is looking at the market as an auction, and I think there's a relationship between buyers and sellers, my question then becomes, how do I identify that? And then what are the 2, 3, 4 setups around that I'm looking for that confirm this setup or confirm this strategy or confirm this thesis or idea, right? I think when people hop from like setup to setup to setup, it doesn't really make sense, because a setup is contingent on your overall viewpoint of the market and overall structure of like how you analyze the market, right? Some people, once again, like they'll trade ICT. I don't really know how ICT is or how it's not, but it's like ICT has its own way of trading, right? Once again, I have nothing good or bad to say about it. I've never traded, never tried it. I don't know enough about it, but it's like you need to understand the ideology of like its concepts or the concepts. Same thing if you go onto, let's say, trading supply and demand, right? Supply and demand a little bit goes into order flow, right? Depending on how you view it. But if you're looking at supply and demand, what are you looking at supply and demand? What do you identify as trending days? What do you identify as flat days? What do you identify as like real supply? What do you identify as like movements that are going to bounce off supply? So like you can identify that in terms of like approaches, and then you build strategy. I think when you just go from strategy to strategy, I don't think they have a strong enough thesis for a setup. And when you have conversations with people like from beginner traders to advanced traders, you can kind of pick that up. And I always tell people like, hey, stop picking different strategies. Just pick a way that you want to look at the market. And then from that way, look at the pockets that you want to trade in. And then call your strategy, whatever you want to call it. Have like a consistency of a rule towards it that makes sense for like, there's a possibility of this going up if it does that. There's a possibility of this going down if it does that.
I think that's important how you just said, if it does that,
Yes.
and that's something traders need to understand. It's like, I will go long if the stock, for example, retests a certain level or whatever it may be, right? I trade break and retest. One of the main questions I get is trading income split.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's say you're making money trading,
Yeah.
you finally start being consistent. What's a good income split? 10% is allocated here, 50% is allocated to this, like in terms of long-term sustaining it. Or have you ever even thought about that?
I've never really thought about it.
I think for me, because I was never like making money from trading and spending it, making money from trading and spending it for like at least a couple of years, a lot of it was just keep making the money and keep putting money away, keep putting money away, keep putting money away. There's also a thing with my trading, and I think I've said this before, I never felt like I could do it again until like year 7-ish. So like every year, like year 1 I was like shit, year 2 was year 3, 4 is when I started getting a little bit of consistency, and like afterwards, like when I go to year 5 and 6, it was always like, okay, like I made money this year, can I make it again next year? Like, I don't know. So like I always had that little fear factor inside me, and I think that's also why I was afraid to be stupid with money, right? Because I was like, shit, what if I can't do it again? What if I can't do it again? Like when I got to like year 8, kind of in like 2019 is where I started really getting comfortable, right? And then I think after 2020, like I had my whole fiasco with the SPY short trade, is when like I took a little bit of a mental hit. But afterwards, like when I got out of that, I was like, bro, like I'm gonna make money in trading for as long as I possibly want.
So that's a very interesting point to bring up. You made a lot of money, whatever, but you don't know how long it's gonna be sustaining for. Even though you've learned the skill, there is that fear. What actually made you get over the point of like, oh, like I can do this, like, and I'll probably sustain this for the rest of my life?
I think when I went through really bad drawdowns, and every time I got myself out of them over and over again, and I think the bigger one was when I had like a big bad SPY trade and like mentally messed me up, and it just like kind of threw me off a lot. I think that's when and where it kind of like gave me the confidence of like, okay, I'll get myself out of it. I understand there's a process I have to follow. I've been in this spot many times, and every time I'm out of it, if I do the X, Y, and Z things over and over again, I'll get out of it, right? Because it's like when you go in drawdown, right? When you go to drawdown like the first time, or the second time, or the fourth time, or like the 9th time, you're like, shit.
Oh, trust me.
Oh man, like I can't tell you how many times until like 2020 was like, and I think by then it was like 7th year, 8th year, where I was like, have I gotten lucky this whole time? Am I actually good? Do I actually know what I'm doing, right? So it's like you start questioning everything about yourself. You're trading, you start questioning your abilities and everything around it, and that's what kind of really threw me off. I think when you go through it a good amount of times, and you just like break out of it. So like right now, what do you like? That's what you feel?
I don't know, because I've never personally went through like it's bad, but like I've been through drawdown where it's like, okay, I'm down 50 grand, I'm down 60 grand. Like that's a big sum of money, but it's not like life, like whatever. Like, you know, like you can get that back. Like one trade could theoretically get that back. But so I've never actually went, because I remember you publicly did that SPY trade. 2020. So I actually vividly remember that.
I was down here in Miami.
You were tweeting that on Twitter, no?
Yeah, bro. Oh my God, that was so hard. Oh man.
So when I saw that drawdown, I was like, okay, cool. Like, and then you got through it, and in my head I was like, oh, like he's such a good trader, he's gonna get through it. Like I didn't even question the fact that like you even to be like scared about that until now, when I'm like, oh, like, you know, like that was probably you 7 years in. Now I'm 7 years in. I'm like, oh, like no, like I'm still I'm scared if I had to go through a drawdown like that. But I've never been through a drawdown like that, and that's why I feel like I'm asking you that question. I feel like if once I do get put into a point where, you know, knock on wood, but like once I do get into a drawdown, that's really when it tests like, okay, can you get back out of this? And that's why I feel like I'm a little bit more, I wouldn't even say scared, like I'm really not, but it's like, it's just something that's like, what will happen? It's like, what if, where you've already done the what if, you know what I'm saying? Obviously at the time, terrible for your mental health, terrible for your trading, your whatever. But looking back at it, would you say that that was the best thing that's happened?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, but in the moment it was the worst thing. See, in the moment it was bad. What a lot of people got wrong is like people thought it was like the money part of it. Yeah, the money hurt. I was like, fuck, I lost $500,000. I just spent that on a car, and now I lost it. And like, mind you, like so many things happened in that quarter. Like, I just moved to Miami recently. I just ended up spending $500,000 on the car. Also, a lot of good things happened. I made the most amount of money in 3 months than I ever did in my whole life. So everything is like going so good. And then I went on this high, and that high just led me to like take this trade that I was, and at that time, a lot of trades I would take, I was public about it, right? I'm on YouTube, on Twitter, I'm like, hey, I'm long Tesla, I'm like, short this, I had a community, I did like the whole 9 yards of like live everything. One trade I took just kind of messed me up because once it went out and it went against me and I started losing money, everyone's like, oh look, he doesn't know how to trade a bear market. Oh look, he doesn't actually know how to trade. Oh look, he's just been making money because the market's been
Everyone's smart in a bull market.
right? Yeah, and like, you know, you hear that and you're like, shit, like maybe they're right.
Yeah, no, it does
Right?
get to you 100%. Highs and lows of trading.
Yeah.
Wow, I can relate to the highs and lows of just trading, business, whatever. There's always highs and lows. And I've been doing it for a while. I know how to kind of deal with it, which is my kind of dealing with it is like when you're at a high, just know you're at a high, and understanding that knowing you're at a high and you're gonna come back to a low is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because you will come back to a low at some point.
Yeah.
And then knowing you're at a low and you can come back to the high is also crucial. But what's your kind of like, as a trader, when you're at a high, when you're at a low, how do you determine it and how are you like cool with it? Because when you're at a low, sometimes it's like, will I ever get back to that high? Like, will I ever get back to that level?
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, you're there and you're like, damn, like I'm the best trader, I'm the best whatever. And then 2 weeks later, you're back at a low. So there's always that. So how do you feel about that? How did you kind of like balance yourself out for the long-term success?
So now I rarely go through that.
Okay.
But like, once again, now is what, like 12 years, 13 years? I don't even know how long.
Have you
it
ever
is.
seen the Dwayne Johnson and what's his name? Kevin Hart thing? It was like,
Oh, he makes fun of for how long? Yeah.
he bought his mom like a house
yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
and it's like $1 billion later. Now it's like that's
Now,
like,
yeah.
it's like yeah now okay
Now,
bro.
okay. Yeah, I saw that. But yeah, I think now it's I don't really, it doesn't really happen. I think I'm very mentally monotone about trading.
Yeah.
Like even my Tesla trade, right? And I was like, oh my god, how did you feel? And I'm like internally, yeah, like I was like, fuck yeah, I did well on it. But I'm also like, damn, I didn't size the way I wanted to size on it because I was gonna size heavier until I went and I spoke to 4 or 5 people and they like kind of killed my idea a little bit. And I was like, oh, maybe they're right. But it's like I'll have a good trade. I'm like, okay, this good trade doesn't mean anything, and I'll have a bad trade and the same concept. It doesn't mean anything. So I try to apply same elements. I think when it does start impacting is when you start going on like a 9-10 trade losing streak, which thank God I haven't had for a while. But what I do now is if I start hitting 1 or 2, 3 losing streaks, I try to get a quick win to get out of that losing streak, to get some like win in my kind of flow, and that helps me like remain momentum, right? Because it's like when you have a 4-day or 4 trade or 5 trade losing streak, you naturally go to like, let me take the next
Confidence
trade,
hit
and
a little
like,
bit,
yeah. And all those things just kind of throw you off.
One thing that I always say is like, I'm not emotional in trades anymore. If I lose a trade, I'm like, whatever, I lost a trade, I'm gonna make it back regardless. But then, to be honest, I've been on a pretty good winning streak for the last like year-ish.
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously I've had red days, but like overall, like my green days outweigh it. But let's say you go on a 1 week losing streak, 2 weeks. Does that still to this day kind of hinder your, you know, short-term trading performance? Not long-term, obviously we know long-term it's fine. Short-term though, do you think that does hinder it because of your emotions?
I think it hinders it. I don't know if it's emotions or what, but it's like from a performance point of view, I'm like, why am I such an idiot? I think there's 2 types of trades, right? There's a trade where it's like, okay, I did everything right. I did everything I was supposed to do, and it just didn't work out. I can live with that all day. I think what I would naturally, I think from a performance point of view and a competitive point of view, is like, I wasn't supposed to take that trade. Why the hell? Like, why was I so stupid to take that trade? Why did I oversize on this trade? How did I miss this? We've been selling off for 4 days. Why am I still, like, why was I so biased? Like, those things that bother me, right? And I think that bother me more now is like, and I get it, it's natural, but it's like, wow, I've been doing this for like 12, 13 years. Like, why am I doing this now? Why am I making the same mistake? And it's like, you keep making these similar mistakes as humans and it'll happen. It's like, as long as you can get yourself out of it quick enough, but yeah, like ultimately it bothers me.
I think
to everyone,
no, I was just gonna say sometimes like I feel like I'll make the most like dumbass mistake, genuinely like a mistake that doesn't even make sense why I'm making it, and then it'll be like, did I learn anything over the last 7 years type of thing? And it honestly, it's not even a 4-year like kind of like it's honestly more so your confidence that gets hit, in my opinion, than anything else. Because even now, for example, like on YouTube, like I'll be, you know, talking about a concept and I know the concept, I've traded the concept well before, and then I'll not trade it well for the one time or whatever, and I'm like, this is something I teach. Like, this is literally something that people watch me and say, oh, you've helped me do this. And then I just messed it up live. So it's like, you know, I think that's kind of what hinders your ability. Now, talking back to your live trading, so you were live trading in like 2020 in front of people. Do you think that affected your performance? Because right now I'm at a point where I'm trading live, like I said, every single trade for the last year and about a year and 2 months or something. Yeah. Every trade has been taken live and recorded, either like on text or voice, whatever. So because of that, in real time, when you're doing that in front of thousands of people, like it can obviously be a little bit more like, you know, not nerve-wracking anymore. Now it's super chill, but back then it was like, when I first started, it was nerve-wracking. When you were trading in front of people compared to trading alone and privately, how has that changed your trading performance?
I mean, I think naturally you will always trade better when you're alone. That's what I think. My trading, I made more money when I traded alone. Okay. Right? And there's two reasons, and I think it depends on you because it can impact you in a healthy or a negative way. For example, when you're trading, let me flip this to you for a second. When you're trading in front of people or whatever the case may be, are you more like, fuck, if I take this bad trade, people are gonna lose money? Are you more like, I need to be more disciplined because I'm being watched? How are you looking at those things?
Well, first of all, I only trade one or two, like I literally only take 1 or 2 trades a day.
Okay.
For myself personally. So like usually I'll take like 1 trade a day.
Yeah.
Now on top of that, the main thing for me is like, I don't really care if I lose money, to be honest. It's just, and I say this all the time, I'm not an alert service. I am a trader that's just taking the trade. So if you want to take the trade, be my guest. If you don't want to, be my guest and learn from it. The key is to learn from it. But then we know in trading, most people are going to go ahead and take that trade, right? It's just, that's what they're going to do. Like I said, it doesn't really affect me as much anymore. But back when I first started, it was definitely like one of those things where it's like, oh, like if these people take this trade, they're going to lose and it's going to be like my fault technically. That boat is underwater.
Yeah, I know,
that boat is genuinely underwater. So what's your outlook now, 10 years from now? Like, what do you have that outlook now?
I don't have a 10-year plan, 10-year nothing. I feel like...
So now it's just more like day by day type of thing? Not day by day, but like year by year.
Even at 25 and 24, it was like a 2-year thing.
Yeah, that's honestly how I am too.
Because I think the world changes so much, like so much, where you can plan for 10 years, but like, it becomes very stupid.
You don't even know what's gonna happen next year. It's so crazy.
With AI, it's like the world is evolving and changing so much with content that like everything is just changing, and it's changing at like such a fast pace. So it's like we can plan like, oh, what are we gonna do in 10 years? My thing is like my whole 10, 20, 30, 40 year outlook is, once again, as long as I wake up and I enjoy what I do on a day-to-day and I get to pick the things I'm doing, I win. I don't care about anything.
So talking about that and talking about like kind of long term, you have trading income. We talked about how you saved your trading income. Why? What are you going to do basically with the money that you've made from trading? Is trading the final goal, or is trading a tool that you can use for the final goal? And what does that final goal look like for you?
I mean, when I first started trading, for me, that was like the end goal. And then as I started trading more and more, trading became more of a vehicle, right, for me to get to the next stage of life, from a financial success and a business success. So for me, trading is just that vehicle, right? That's how I look at it. Like, do I think at 35 or 40 I'll be trading? As years go by, and I think people see it on social media too, I'm trading less, trading with more size. I'm not showing up every day. Like, a lot of things start changing. So it's like I'm more focused onto like building this business or that business and being involved more into like building software now. It's something I enjoy more. Like I was saying to you before, people are more, there's more of a sex appeal of saying I'm a 23-year-old millionaire and being so successful at 23 than like, oh, I'm 30 and I'm successful. Even though 30 isn't old, it's still like, I'm not saying it because I'm 30, but it's like just overall, right?
We're just putting himself in young status.
Yeah, people are like, oh, he's saying it because he's 30. No, it's like, actually, it's not old for people that are watching that are maybe 32, 33, but it's like the idea of being 23 and doing really well and showcasing discipline and structure and all these things in your life is far more impressive and valuable to people than like when you're a lot older.
But then there's also people that say trading, like, you need to be older to be a trader. Now, you saw trading success young, but now you're also, you know, punk. And so with that being said though, like, is it actually possible to see consistency as a trader young, or like, do you have to be older? Do you have to go through like years and years and years, or like, is it possible within like 2 years, let's say, that like you're like 18, you're like you turn 20, and then like you can see that kind of consistency?
I think it's totally possible. 2 years is more than a good enough time. I also think it depends on the person. Like see, you're 23, right? Yeah. A lot of people that are 23 at your age are nowhere near as mature as you are. Like nowhere near as mature as you are. They're nowhere near as self-aware as you are. And maturity also comes in like with money, for example. You're smart. You're not making $1 million and like blowing $1 million. You're not making $4 million and blowing $4 million. You're not doing these stupid acts, and you don't have the 23-year-old mindset where it's like, oh shit, I need to like fulfill what people want and fulfill what people are doing, and I need to satisfy other people. You're like, hey, I'm making my money, I'm saving 90-95% of it, which is, I think, a good thing to do and a smart thing to do. And now if you flip that to another 23-year-old, he probably has less than 50,000 to his name, while I'm making a couple of million a year, and I know people like that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I think it depends on the person. Same thing in trading. In 2 years, can you achieve a large amount of success? Yes. Even if you're 20, even if you're 19 or 21, 22. And harder typically, yeah, because most people under 25 are not mature, and they don't have the discipline or the structure, or the ability to recognize things they're messing up on. So I think when I see someone that's 23, 22, 21, and they are doing the right things, I'm like, shit, like, that's a lot harder to do then than doing it at like 30 or 35 or 40. So that's up to you, bro.
Thank you. What can we expect next from Umar?
I don't know what we can expect next from you. I want to know what we can expect next from you. And I mean, I just want to say, with the camera here, I never really got a chance to say it to you, but I think overall, I think the value you share online is like, I think, extremely, extremely valuable. And I'm saying that because I didn't know what you look like when we first followed each other. I had no idea anything. I just saw Scarface trades. I'm like, bro, who's this guy? And I went through your content. I'm like, wow, this is like good content, right? And there was no lifestyle stuff. There was no anything. It was just pure raw value, right? So like, hats off to you for like bringing that into the trading community, because I think trading community is so fucked in a bad way, like genuinely, where it's like people are just like posting bullshit and posting nonsense. So I think when I see someone come in and like offer raw value and guide the next generation of kids of like, hey, save 90% of your money, be smart with your money, don't go and spend it all on clubs, don't go and buy like a million different chains and all that, like, you know, have fun, spend a little bit of it, but like be smart and build your life. You know, hats off to you for that, because I think at 23, 24, even 25, that's hard to do. And bro, you're absolutely crushing it.
I appreciate that, bro.
Keep doing that,
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys.
And hold on, last thing. Are you engaged? What's that?
Brother, right hand.
Okay. I saw that. I'm like, wait, he's asking me about marriage, but is he engaged?
Right hand.
What's going on? What's the secret?
Right hand. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.